you sick of it? Yeah. Are you sick of CEOs dictating your lives where you live and where you work? Say hell yeah!
1,100 Warrior Met miners have been on strike in Alabama since April 1st, and an estimated 500 of them just showed up for a huge rally in New York City. So this big rally is taking place at BlackRock's headquarters. BlackRock is Warrior Met's biggest shareholder, so the strikers here are correctly identifying the pressure points within this fight and using that as their target. Now, by the way, at the end of this video, I will inform you of a couple other strikes going on that are sort of similar to this, but you also likely haven't heard about because, of course, the mainstream press does a very piss-poor job at actually covering labor disputes. Now, you might wonder, but before I get to any of this, you might wonder why am I out here defending coal miners in the middle of a climate crisis? But this gets to the heart of a lot of the misinformation that is spread by both liberal and conservative media about the climate crisis. Dealing with the climate crisis is not about punishing blue-collar workers. It is actually about ensuring those people have a job, are taken care of in the transition to renewable energies. So, for example, in Bernie Sanders' plan when he was running for president both in 2016 and 2020, he guaranteed in his plan, his climate change plan, guaranteed full pay for blue-collar fossil fuel workers for 5 years, in addition to job retraining and retirement in case you were at the end of your career. So this has never been about punishing blue-collar workers who are really just caught in the middle of all of this. It is about ensuring that they are taken care of in the process to moving to renewable energies. And right now you have a massive corporation that is continuing to oppress their employees here at Warrior Met. So first, let me show you. Giselle Noir shared this video that I played at the beginning of this clip. But here they are, out here in big numbers, striking. So an estimated 500 of them are here, but other estimates say it's closer to 1,000. Also, Jordan Sheridan at Status Quo has also covered this well. So here he is with another clip showing you just how big this crowd is. And it is massive. So this is how you have to handle a strike like this. You have to be able to find the pressure points within that fight. In this situation, BlackRock being a massive investor of Warrior Met, and be able to attempt to pressure them to put pressure on Warrior Met. Now, I also want to give credit here, as you'll see in a second. Kim Kelly, labor reporter, has been doing a fantastic job covering all these labor disputes. She also covered the union fight in Alabama for Amazon. Also, The Real News and More Perfect Union, in addition to Status Quo, have done a fantastic job of covering this. I want to play here a clip from Kim Kelly, who's on Democracy Now! This was a month ago, discussing this strike. Again, this has been going on for about almost 5 months now. But here she is on Democracy Now! Discussing some of the details of this strike.
So these miners have been on strike since April 1st on unfair labor practices strike. They have been out for almost 3 months now. On April 8th, the local union leadership and the company, they came together with a tentative agreement that they presented to the membership. And the membership overwhelmingly voted that down and voted to stay out on strike. And now they've been out there on the picket lines every single day ever since. They haven't gotten very much outside media attention. They've gotten a lot of local support and support from within the labor movement. And today, a group of the miners and UMWA officials, as well as some international labor leaders, Sarah Nelson from AFA and Stuart Applebaum from RWDSU, are out here protesting, picketing in front of these venture capital investors' offices, because these are the companies that fund Warrior Met and allow Warrior Met to pay their executives millions of dollars a year, while the miners, the workers themselves who are creating that value, are struggling to get by on sometimes as little as $22 an hour to spend 6 days a week, 12 hours a day underground in one of the deepest mines in North America, which also happens to be filled with methane gas.
So as Kim Kelly mentions there, these miners are making very little considering the work that they are doing, putting their lives on the line, potentially getting black lung disease in some cases, which is actually on the rise in the U.S. because some mines are not unionized. So in West Virginia, Kentucky, there are miners who are not unionized. So there's lack of protection, safety protections for them, meaning that black lung is actually on the rise. These miners in Alabama putting their lives on the line. And here they are actually receiving a pay cut since 2016. So this entire dispute actually goes back to 2016. More on this from the United Mine Workers of America. The current agreement with the union was negotiated as Warrior Met emerged from the bankruptcy proceedings of the former Walter Energy, which declared bankruptcy in 2016. Union members say they made numerous concessions in pay, benefits, holidays, overtime, and in other areas to keep the company going and get it out of bankruptcy. Concessions they say total more than $1.1 billion. And with those concessions at the time, they were promised that these benefits, the pay would be increased because of their concessions. So once Warrior Met, got back on the right track, they would take care of the workers, which has not happened, which is why these miners are now on strike. And in the process of all of this, there's been violence against the strikers. So 3 separate incidents of vehicular assault by persons working for Warrior Met Coal Inc. have occurred on legal picket lines set up by members of the United Mine Workers of America in the last 3 days. And this is from June 7, 2021. Raising questions as to whether the company has determined that violence and the threat of bodily harm are its best responses to the ongoing strike by UMWA miners at the company. And by the way, there are videos of 2 of the incidents available. So, and as I said, June 7th, who knows, there may have been more since then. I haven't been able to find it. But this has been clearly a very heated dispute, and likely going into month 5. If you want to continue following this story, as I'm sure there are going to be many developments here, as I said, follow reporting by Kim Kelly. She also has a breakdown from June 11th discussing the entire thing. Also follow The Real News, More Perfect Union, and Status Quo that have all been covering this strike very closely. Now, I want to mention a couple other strikes that are similar to this. So this from Jacobin: miners in Ontario are mobilizing against another corporate ripoff. Mining multinational Vail is trying to strip its workers in Sudbury of vital benefits using the pandemic as cover. They've responded with strike action, building on a long tradition of militant trade unionism in the region. Vail's most recent offer, rejected by 87% of voting United Steelworkers members, would eliminate retiree health and insurance benefits for all employees hired after June 1st. For future retirees, this would spell the end of the over-the-counter drug coverage, funds for semi-private hospital rooms, life insurance, non-occupational accident insurance, and dismemberment insurance. Management have offered to replace the previous benefits system by giving new hires a $1,000 pro-retirement healthcare savings account. And you may be wondering, this is Canada. Why do they need health coverage? Well, Canada's health coverage doesn't go far enough. So yes, we have, general single payer, but it doesn't cover something like dental. It doesn't cover pharmacare. It doesn't cover, obviously, private hospital rooms. So there are places where private insurance fits to Canada's single payer healthcare system, and that's kind of what the gap here is about. So that's been going on. Also, 900 workers at Rio Tinto's British Columbia smelter strike over contract labor and pension rights. So they're striking against the highly profitable company's ever-expanding use of temporary contract labor and its refusal to grant workers hired since 2019 defined benefit pensions. So it's actually kind of crazy. I hadn't heard about either of these stories till I was researching the Alabama strike. So it's crazy how little coverage many of these labor disputes get. And I mean, it really... It helps to the lack of coverage of these labor disputes. All it does is actually help the people in power, these massive corporations that are continuing to oppress their workers. So it's important that you get the word out about these sorts of labor disputes, these strikes, what they're fighting for, and also understand at the same time that even when we're discussing fossil fuel workers, coal miners, we continue to be in solidarity with blue-collar workers regardless of what their job is, because it is not about, at the end of the day, it's not about punishing people in these fields who, maybe their father, their grandfather worked in the mines and now they're working in the mines. Why would we want to punish blue-collar workers? We have to take care of people in these industries, in the fossil fuel industry, in the transition away from fossil fuels into renewable energy. So taking care of them in terms of guaranteeing full pay for 5 years during job retraining and ensuring that they are looked after during this process to a more renewable future.